Welcome to the demonstration for Vault Store Partition Rollover. This demonstration reinforces the concepts covered in the Enterprise Vault 10 for Exchange Administration course. In this demonstration, we will create 2 additional Vault Store partitions for the Corporate Compliance Vault Store and configure the partitions for Partition Rollover. Although this demonstration shows configuring Partition Rollover on a Vault Store that is used for journal archiving, this method can be used on any Vault Store and should not be viewed as a feature used only for journal archiving. We're going to start off on our Enterprise Vault server, which is server 2. We have the Vault Administration console open, and we have selected the site, which in our particular example is EV Site 1. We're then going to come over and expand our storage management under our Common Tasks Launchpad, and we'll select the option to create a new Vault Store partition. And it opens up the only Vault Store group that we have, which is EV Server Group. When we expand our Vault Store group, it shows us the 2 Vault Stores that are available, Corporate Compliance and Information Management. The Corporate Compliance one, as we saw in a previous demonstration, we have set that Vault Store up to support the Journal Archive, which has the Journal Mailbox as a target. So we're going to set up these groups and perform the partition rollovers in the Corporate Compliance Vault Store. So I select my Corporate Compliance Vault Store, and then I can click OK, and it brings me to the new partition wizard. I click Next, and we're going to change the name of this one, and we're going to call it Rollover by Size. And you can see that we modified the description to say Corporate Compliance Partition Rollover by Size. And we're going to change this when we open it up, not to open in the ready state, but to have it open in the closed state. And this is just to give us a chance to see what the different icons look like when we have partitions in both open, ready, and closed. We will be actually making this partition ready prior to performing the partition rollovers. So we go ahead and click Next. It will be an NTFS volume, so I go ahead and click Next. And we're going to place it on our E drive. And then we click Next. And now it asks for a location, and we'll leave it in the default location, which is our E Enterprise Vault Stores that we had created earlier for our other Vault Stores, and it'll name the folder Rollover by Size. It means this is an NT file system. We're not performing data deduplication or data compression, so we'll leave both of those unmarked and click Next. Again, we always want to do a check of the connectivity when we're setting up our partitions. So we'll do our run test, and all of our connection ratings come back good. So we can go ahead and click Next. And now we're ready to actually configure the partition for rollover. So we'll come up and change the partition rollover from not enabled to based on volume. And we're just choosing these different options to show you different values that you can select for automatic partition rollover. But to show the actual partition rollover, we will be doing manually initiated rollovers. So we're going to change this based on volume to when the volume reaches a certain amount free. So we'll select the when volume reaches, and we've decided that we want to do that when it reaches 7 gigabytes free. So we can go ahead and click our Next button. We'll leave the default to security to add the access control list to the Vault Store partition. So go ahead and click Next. And for the determination of whether or not the archive has been backed up, we'll just use the archive attribute. Go ahead and click Next. And for the collection software, we're not going to be doing collections. We'll discuss that in more detail in a later demonstration. So we'll just leave that at none and click Next. Here we have our summary. We verify all of our settings and click Finish. And it comes back and says that the new Vault Store partition has been successfully created and is ready for use. So we'll go ahead and click Close. We're going to go ahead and create a third Vault Store partition for the Corporate Compliance Vault Store so that we can do a manual rollover from the Common Task Launchpad, as well as doing a manual rollover using the Enterprise Vault shell. So I'll go ahead and click the Create a New Vault Store Partition again. Once again, expand my EV server group vault store group. Once again, we will select our corporate compliance vault store. And then we click OK. The new partition wizard starts up. Click Next. And we're going to change its name to be Rollover by Time. And then we'll change our description. And this one we'll leave in the ready state. And again, we're doing this so that we can see the different icons based upon the partition state. So go ahead and click Next. It will be an NTFS volume. So we go ahead and click Next. We will place it on the E drive again. And click Next. And we'll accept the location that's going to be in the Enterprise Vault Stores folder in a separate folder, rollover by time. Again, we're not doing deduplication or compression, so we'll leave those unmarked. Click Next. We do wish to run our test again, so we click our Run Test button. And our connection ratings are all good, so we'll go ahead and click Next. And now for this one here, we'll select a different rollover partition option. We'll select enabled based on time. And then we'll change this time instead of after a certain period to be on a specific date and time. So we mark the on option. And then we open up our date selection. And it's currently July 4th when we're creating the demonstration, but we want to set this to be 2 months later. So I'll navigate to August and then to September. And then we'll select the 4th for our date. And we want to change our time from midnight to being 8 p.m. And then we can go ahead and click Next. Again, we'll accept the default security to add the access control lists. We'll accept the default for the determination of whether or not the items have been backed up as the archive attribute and click Next. We'll leave the collection at none and click Next. We get our summary and then we go ahead and click Finish. And it says that it was able to successfully create the Vault Store partition for us. So we can go ahead and click Close. Now we're going to go and look at the partitions. So we'll expand our Vault Store groups. We'll expand the EV server group. And we will select the Corporate Compliance Vault Store. And you can see that the 3 different Vault Store partitions are shown on the right side of the window pane here. And we can see that rollover by time is in the ready state, so its icon has a little green check mark on it. You can see that the Corporate Compliance Partition 1 is the open, and again as a reminder, you can only have 1 open partition at a time. And you can see that our rollover by size is in the closed state. So there's a little red circle with a line through it to show that it is in the closed state. The status is also listed under the status column, closed, open, and ready for our 3 partitions. So the first thing that we want to do is to change the properties of our open partition so that it will support partition rollover. So I'll right click on it and select Properties. Once the property dialog opens up, we'll go ahead and select the rollover tab. And we'll change the partition rollover to be a combination of both time or volume. So again, we're just trying to show you with the 3 different partitions that you can have different options for the partitions, and they can all have different requirements for the partition rollover. And we're going to change the volume to be 50% free. And we're going to change the time to be 13 and weeks. And then I can go ahead and click OK. And now we need to change the state of the rollover by size to be ready instead of closed. So we'll open the properties of the rollover by size, click Properties. And you can see that the state is right on the General tab. So we're going to change that from closed to ready. And then we go ahead and click OK. We've already configured the rollover on this one, so I need to do that. And then we do get a warning here because now that the corporate compliance is set for time and volume, and rollover by size is set by volume, and they're both pointing to the same volume, that could be a problem. I just want to make sure that that's what we really want to do. And again, for demonstration purposes, we're doing that because we don't have two separate devices that we could have different partitions on. So we'll go ahead and say yes. And now we want to change the order to show you that you can actually set up the order for which is going to roll over to first, whether it rolls over to by time first or by size first. And what we've got to do is we've got to come over to our corporate compliance and open the properties. And then I can go to the partition rollover. And I want it to roll over to the by size first. So I select rollover by size. And then I click move up. And now I've set the order that I wish for them to roll over. And I click OK. Now what I want to do is to force the rollover. And I'm going to do it two different ways. The first is going to be through the Common Task Launchpad. And then we'll also do it through the Enterprise Vault Shell. So to do it through the Common Tasks Launchpad, I'll click on my EV Site 1. And you can see under our Storage Management section, we have the option to initiate a partition rollover. So I'll go ahead and click the Initiate Partition Rollover. We have to select which vault store we wish the partition rollover to occur in. So I'll expand my EV Server Group, Vault Store Group. Select the Corporate Compliance Vault Store and click OK. It tells me that the partition rollover did succeed and that our new open partition is rollover by size. So I can go ahead and click OK. And to see that, I'll go ahead and come back down and click on the Corporate Compliance Vault Store. However, when I first click on it, I don't see that change in status. So I'll go ahead and do a refresh here. And you can now see that the Corporate Compliance Partition 1 has gone to a closed state, and the rollover by size has gone to an open state or status. And so therefore you can see again, we can only have one open partition in any instant. We can only have one open partition at any given instant in time. So next we're going to go ahead and do a partition rollover using the Enterprise Vault Shell. So we'll start that up by clicking our Start menu options, selecting our All Programs, expanding the Enterprise Vault Program Group, and select the Enterprise Vault Management Shell. The shell starts up and starts connecting to the Enterprise Vault Management Shell environment. And now once I'm connected, I can type in the command to start the partition rollover. And we're going to type in the command, and it's going to be start partition rollover. Now I could just go ahead and specify the parameters for this particular commandlet. But we'll go ahead and see what happens when I don't do that. So I go ahead and press enter. And it starts the commandlet, start partition rollover. And it says that we did not specify a EV server name. So our EV server is server 2. So we'll type that in. And then we go ahead and press enter. And we need to specify the vault store. So we'll type in corporate compliance. And then we'll go ahead and press enter. And it says that the partition rollover did succeed and that the new open partition should be rollover by time. So I'll go ahead and close my Enterprise Vault Management Shell. And we'll go ahead and again, we see that it did not change here in the Vault Administration Console. So I'll go ahead and refresh my view. And you can now see that the Corporate Compliance Partition 1 is closed, rollover by size is closed, and rollover by time is open. Now again, we initiated manual partition rollovers here in the example, but the rollover by size would have rolled over based upon the 7 gigabytes being free, which is the way we configured it. The corporate compliance partition was configured to roll over once we got to 50% volume or 13 weeks, whichever came first. And then the rollover by time would roll over once it reached September 4th at 8 p.m. However, we'll notice that there's not an additional ready partition, so the rollover by time will not roll over automatically until we create another ready partition for that to occur. And that brings us to the end of this demonstration.